Welcome to this explainer. If you're exploring fertility care, or maybe you're right in the middle of navigating an IVF cycle, you already know there's just a lot. A lot of medical jargon, a lot of waiting, and a whole lot of wondering. So today, we're going to strip all that clinical jargon right out. We're taking a warm, supportive, step-by-step walk through the laboratory phase of your care. We'll look at exactly how embryologists nurture and evaluate your embryos behind the scenes to give you the absolute highest chances of success.
Let's be honest, that period right after egg retrieval and fertilization is often the absolute hardest part of IVF. It's the ultimate waiting game, right? You're resting at home, but behind those secure laboratory doors, an incredible amount of activity is happening. So what exactly happens in the lab after fertilization? Well, let's pull back the curtain and explore exactly what the embryologists are doing for you and your future family. Now, you're going to hear the terms embryo and blastocyst thrown around a lot, but there's a really distinct difference between the two. An embryo is that beautiful, very early stage of development immediately following fertilization. But a blastocyst, that's a much more advanced stage, typically reached around day 5 or 6 in the lab. By allowing the embryo to grow to this blastocyst stage, it undergoes this absolutely crucial development that makes it much better prepared to eventually attach to the uterus. It really shows us exactly why that extra time in the lab matters so deeply.
So why exactly do we use what's called blastocyst culture? Well, it isn't just about waiting longer for the sake of it. It's a very intentional, highly monitored process where your embryos are safely grown in the lab for those 5 to 6 days. And honestly, this extended observation period is a total game changer. It gives your doctors and embryologists the clearest possible view to select your absolute strongest embryo. By watching how they develop over nearly a week, the medical team can pinpoint the exact ones with the highest chance of successful implantation in your womb.
Part 1. The journey to day 5.
When we break this down day by day, you can literally see the amazing, rapid growth of the embryo over just a few short days. It's truly a journey worth celebrating. Okay, so on day 2, we're looking at a 2 to 4 cell stage. Just 24 hours later, on day 3, it's already doubled to a 6 to 8 cell stage. By day 4, it reaches this highly compacted stage, and by day 5 or 6, it transforms into the complex blastocyst. So when you're sitting at home wondering what in the world is happening, just picture this timeline. Your embryo is incredibly busy dividing, growing, and gaining strength.
Let's pause on day 4 for just a second. You might hear your clinic mention the word morula. Knowing this term really empowers you for those doctor consultations because it shows you exactly what the lab is looking for, right in the middle of your wait. The morula is a perfectly normal, totally expected stage of embryo development. Basically, it's a tight, solid ball of cells that proves things are progressing exactly as they should be right before it hollows out to become that blastocyst.
Moving on to Part 2. Inside the blastocyst.
Once the embryo reaches that day 5 or 6 blastocyst stage, it does something amazing. It organizes itself into 2 very distinct, highly important parts. Inside the blastocyst, a small but mighty grouping forms called the inner cell mass. And it's honestly so heartwarming to realize what this actually is. This tiny, strong cluster of stem cells is exactly what will one day develop into your baby. When embryologists look at your blastocyst under the microscope, they're looking really closely at this inner cell mass to make sure it's clustered tightly and growing vibrantly.
And surrounding that precious inner cell mass is the trophectoderm. This outer layer of cells is just as vital to your success. Right now, this healthy outer rim acts as a protective shell, but its ultimate destiny is to develop into the placenta. It's literally the foundation for the life-giving support system that will nurture your pregnancy. So both parts, the inner mass and the outer rim, need to be absolutely healthy and communicating with each other.
Part 3. Understanding embryo grading. I know the term grading can sound super intimidating. It almost feels like a harsh pass-fail test from school, right? But as the clinic's own literature states really clearly, grading of the blastocyst is an imperfect science, and this is so important to internalize. Grading is really just the embryologist evaluating the external appearance of those 2 cell layers we just talked about. A top grade doesn't absolutely guarantee a pregnancy, and conversely, an embryo with a lower grade definitely doesn't mean failure. It's an appearance-based tool, a helpful guide, but it absolutely does not define the entire potential of your embryo.
In fact, the really incredible news here is that merely reaching day 5 or 6 is a massive victory all on its own. Just by virtue of the fact that an embryo has survived in the lab to the blastocyst stage, it proves that it is incredibly resilient. It tells us that these are your strongest embryos, they inherently have the best implantation potential, and they possess a high readiness to attach to the uterus. Think of it like this: they've already passed the toughest endurance test just by making it to transfer day.
And all of this translates into very real benefits for you.
Because blastocyst culture allows the clinic to identify these amazingly resilient embryos, it leads to increased implantation rates and higher overall clinical pregnancy rates. Plus, because your doctors can be so confident in the strength of a carefully selected blastocyst, they can transfer fewer embryos, often just one. This safely increases your chances of a successful, healthy pregnancy while drastically reducing the medical risks that come with high-order multiple pregnancies, like twins or triplets.
Which brings us to part 4, the gentle transfer process.
The transfer itself is designed to be an incredibly gentle and profoundly positive milestone in your care. First, a very soft, flexible catheter containing your chosen blastocyst is gently inserted through the cervix. And don't worry, this is all done under ultrasound guidance, which ensures perfect, precise placement within your uterus. Then the blastocyst is softly transferred into the womb. Finally, after the catheter is removed, the embryologist takes it right back to the lab to double-check it under the microscope. This gives you the absolute guarantee that your embryo is safely resting in your womb.
Now, I have a fantastic and honestly very relieving fact for you. You might be surprised to learn that according to the medical experts, bed rest is not advised post-embryo transfer. I know so many patients worry that if they stand up or cough or even just walk to the car, they might somehow dislodge the embryo. But I promise you, nature just doesn't work that way. The embryo is perfectly secure, which means you can gently resume your normal daily life without the added anxiety and stress of forcing yourself to lie perfectly still.
So, with the strongest embryo chosen and gently transferred, are you ready for the hopeful next step of your IVF journey? We'll wrap up this explainer here. You now know the incredible journey your embryo has taken in the lab, how its strength was nurtured, and how gently it was placed right back where it belongs. Understanding this process shouldn't just relieve anxiety. It should fill you with complete confidence in your medical team and, most importantly, in your own body. Take these insights, ask your doctor about your specific grading and transfer plan, and keep that hope alive. Because armed with this knowledge, what incredibly empowering step will you take next on your path forward?